Well, hello and welcome to another edition of This Month in Hamilton, our March 2026 edition. If you recall, just a few weeks ago, we recorded another March 2026 edition. That was actually our February edition that got snowed out thanks to one of the two major snowstorms. So glad to be past all the snow and glad to thank WBCB 1490 AM for allowing us each and every month, minus snowstorms, to bring you an edition of This Month in Hamilton. Want to also start out by thanking our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So again, hello and welcome to the March 2026 edition. Well past the snow. We're even, as we record this, closer to the end of the month, past the St. Patrick's Day Parade. So we hope many of you had the opportunity to come out, enjoy the parade. We had a great turnout, great weather, and a lot of smiling faces down Mercer Street and Nottingham Way, enjoying the start of the spring season now here in town. And with that spring season, we hope we're well past any snow in town as well. So you'll start seeing, much like you maybe individually doing some spring cleaning in your house, the township now is doing some spring cleaning of its own. So you're going to see a lot of our public works people, with all the high winds we've had, taking down branches and getting those cleared up. With all the cold weather, snow and ice, we know there's a ton of potholes out there. But we've got to wait a little bit to properly repair some of them to get that temperature up to be able to do so, to get some hot patch fill into some of those potholes. So as you start seeing it warm up, you'll start seeing some of those pothole repairs done. We know they're there. Make sure you call them in so we have each one documented and can make sure we can take care of it and check it off our list. But you'll see work crews around town slowly getting to those pothole repairs as well. And before you know it, starting in April, you'll start seeing road paving crews starting some prep for road paving season as well in town. We've got a number of roads we're looking to pave, as well as some of them. Our in-house crew will be doing some of those bigger pothole patches as well, where they'll actually mill a little bit and then put in a fresh sheet in certain spots of road fill that way too. And then we know there was a ton of water main breaks as well, and so those just had some quick patches put on it as well. And we're in touch with Trenton Waterworks on getting a lot of those permanently taken care of as well. So unfortunately, a lot of those seem to happen in roads we've just repaved in the last 2-3 years. So we're working with them to get proper restoration of those places where we had water main breaks and had to put a quick patch in on the road as well. So you'll start seeing all that normal spring activity like you do at the start of the year, leading then into events such as Azalea Fest and the Memorial Day parades later on this spring. But some other things I want to start off with first. We're going to be talking a little bit as a township about putting out some news about what we have planned for celebrating as a township the 250th birthday of the United States of America. So we're really excited about that. And our guest today to talk about a little bit of Hamilton's history is Jeff Guear, who's our township historian located at our Hamilton Township Public Library. So Jeff will be on later to talk a little bit about different periods and eras of Hamilton Township's history. It's a good opportunity as we celebrate our national history to remind ourselves about our local history. So what better person to have on than Jeff to talk about some of our local history as well. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't take a second to recognize the passing of former Sheriff Gil Lugosi, who passed away very recently at the age of 90 years old. Many of you probably have known Gil. He was Hamilton Township school board member, Hamilton Township Fire Commissioner, Mercer County Freeholder, Mercer County Sheriff, had a number of titles that way. Many of you probably in the last 20 years really just knew him as the person you'd see at almost every single wake or funeral in town. and the joke being you're not dead unless Gil Lugosi's at your wake. So we know how important he was and how friendly he was with so many people in town, and so many people are going to miss him, miss his smile, miss his spirit, miss his positive demeanor and outlook on the town. So we want to extend our prayers to his family, his friends, his loved ones, and all who will miss Gil Lugosi. We personally had the honor of calling him Uncle Gil, especially my 5-year-old daughter always called him Uncle Gil, and he made sure each and every time he saw her to give her a coin. Most times it was a penny, but as with inflation, it's gone up as well. So by the end, he was giving her nickels and dimes instead, occasionally a quarter if she was really good. So we're going to personally, as a family, miss our Uncle Gil as well. Some other things going on in the town. So we talked about road paving and spring cleanup. We talked about our 250th celebration we have coming up. Wanted to just touch on the municipal building. That still keeps progressing. You probably have seen most of the windows now are fully installed, almost sealing the building up, which then allows us to move on to a lot of interior finish work. And so we're still on target for fall of this year for our move-in date. I ran into a senior recently who turned 100, and so I had the opportunity to give her a certificate on her 100th birthday, and she still comes in every quarter to pay her property taxes. And when I told her there's no more stairs that she would have to take to have to pay her property taxes, she was so relieved that in the new building there won't be any stairs as she goes to pay her property taxes. So we want to make sure she continues to be with us so that she can get into that new building. She was actually telling stories about how she remembers when that building first opened. So the building opened 97 years ago now, and she just turned 100. So she was around before that building even existed, because it didn't start being constructed until 1928. So, it just kind of puts, again, as we talk about our history, puts that history into perspective that way. Some other projects going on. I know many of you continually talk about CHOP or ask about CHOP. The demolition of the AMC movie theater is underway. They actually have to do some interior demolition before they can start some exterior demolition. The goal is to have the building completely down sometime by probably very late spring or early summer. And so maybe not so much in March, but by mid to late April, you'll start seeing, we think, some of that exterior demolition as they get that started and kicked into high gear. We know Whitehead Road has been an eyesore now for almost 3 years, and they've started the cleanup of that site as well. I know some people have commented, well, I don't see really any cleanup going on because of how close that building was to the sidewalk. They've got to work from the back forward. So the first phase is cleaning the back of where that warehouse was, and then moving forward. So it may still be some weeks before you really start seeing a lot of cleanup at that site from what you can see from the road. But it is ongoing. One of the first telltale signs was you saw kind of that orange fence go up out front, which is now from the contractor doing it. So more to come on that as well, and we're really excited to just get that cleaned up and get that eyesore out of the way, because we know that's what it's been for, like I said, about 3 years from 3 years ago, where we had that major fire there. In terms of some other news, the town council at the end of March will be introducing this year's budget. The budget overall is about 2% higher than what it was last year. We continue to face significant headwinds on our health insurance costs, as do every town and even the school district, and then higher than average snow removal costs. So the two storms that we had between January and February cost about $700,000 to get all the snow cleared and pay our employees, pay our contractors, etc. So a big undertaking, a big ordeal. We know there was some issues with the January storm. We heard a lot less with the February storm. So we put some new, as part of after action from the January storm, put some new things into place for the February storm, which seemed to help clear the roads a little bit faster. We had almost every single road cleared in 24 hours. I think we did have every road cleared within 30 hours after the last snowfall fell. So, and you think about, we had 16 inches of snow. So kudos to our township employees who did a phenomenal job clearing that snowstorm. And then that leads me right back into spring and why we're so happy to have our spring weather here. So we're going to take our first short break. When we come back again, we'll be joined by Jeff to talk about some of the history of Hamilton Township as we celebrate the history of the founding of our nation. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Your vehicle is in good hands at Haldeman Collision, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. They do it all at Haldeman Collision. Minor dents and dings, bumpers, windshields, major body, and frame damage. Free estimates, 24-hour towing, most insurance accepted, and loaners available. Haldeman Collision works with all makes and models. They'll go out of their way to getting your car back in brand new condition. Haldeman Collision, conveniently located 20 minutes from Langhorne, Princeton, and Ewing on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. Kessel Dermatology in Hamilton Square is an award-winning dermatology practice led by Dr. Daniel Kessel, a board-certified dermatologist. He and his expert staff treat patients of all ages. They offer treatments of all types of skin, hair, and nail conditions, and annual skin cancer screenings, anti-aging treatments, ultraviolet A and B light treatments, skin tightening procedures, Botox, and other treatments that enhance your skin's overall health and appearance. Kessel Dermatology is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. For appointments, call 609-890-2600. That's 609-890-2600. Or visit KesselDermatology.com. They're at 1700 Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. Kessel Dermatology. They're good.
Hello and welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. I want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
So it's great to have you here a little bit, and I kind of, in the initial segment, introduced who you are. But if you could just introduce yourself, right, and then kind of what your role is with Hamilton Township.
Sure. My name is Jeff Guear, and I'm the Hamilton Township historian. My office is located at the Hamilton Township Public Library, and I collect information, data on the township, and also artifacts. They don't have to be old. They could go up to present day. We're expanding our archival collection, and that includes photographs, identified preferably, pamphlets, souvenirs, documents, diaries, anything that pertains to the township in any way. We'd be interested in taking a look at it, and we're establishing this archival collection so the township could use this for display purposes, research purposes.
Well, I'd love to hear that. So, I talked a little bit in the first segment about our new municipal building, right? And I know the library has display cases up as you kind of walk up the set of stairs, right? But the new municipal building is going to have display cases as well, right? And we want to take that opportunity to display some of our history, right? In pictures and artifacts, even one of the things we've come across recently is I'm not the first mayor who had the idea of a new municipal building, right? Jack Rafferty had his own vision. We're as we sit here today, we're at the golf center, right? And his proposed municipal complex was going to be right across the street from the library and
Correct.
from where we're at today, right? So history comes in so many different kind of flavors almost, right?
It sure does.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're seeing that as you're archiving all this stuff as well. And from different periods as well, too.
Oh, yeah. We have material going back. Well, the oldest thing we have, we just got on loan from the Historical Society, is a minutes book from before this was Hamilton Township. It was Nottingham Township. And there's a fragment of this minutes book has lasted all these years. And the fragment we have ranges from 1692 to 1710.
Wow.
So that even predates the Declaration of Independence. 1692 is 150 years before our township was formed.
Yeah.
So this fragment survived all these years, and we have plans of taking some high-res scans and having these images available to the public.
That'd be awesome. Now, clearly, we don't have the capability, I would imagine, to do high-res scans, right? Do you have partnerships with other entities, or are we able to do it?
I'm not aware of any partnerships that we might have, but if I'm wrong, hopefully somebody will correct me. But it's something we're looking into.
That's awesome. And the library kind of seems like the perfect place for you to sit for, right? The library is that center point for research, for books, for just information, right? Almost an information hub. And so it seems like the perfect place for you to sit to do your work.
I can think of no better place.
Yeah. And you're not the first historian for the township either.
No, my predecessor, Tom Glover, he set the pace.
Yeah.
And I'm just building on what he started. He wasn't as much into the archival aspect of it, but I'm working with a volunteer of the Friends of the Library, Maxine Friedman. She's a retired museum worker, and she has taught me a lot about archival procedures and archival materials, ways and things to preserve these material that we get.
That's awesome. So go back to the story for, this minutes book, right? Have you had the opportunity to look at it yet?
I did. It's been conserved at some point between, 1920 and present day, and we don't know exactly who did it or when. I'll give you a little background. The minutes book kind of disappeared from. Nobody knew where it went. And there was the Cubberley family, old family in Hamilton, had possession of this book for decades. And then we didn't know what happened to it, and I was doing research on the town book, and I got to talking with Jim Federici. He's the president of the Historical Society, and he suggested I look through the Abbott House because they have some old stuff in there. And I found some interesting things, and wouldn't you know, in the parlor, there's a case. And I open it up, and there's a box, and there's the town book.
Wow.
Somebody had it restored, conserved years ago, but nobody knows how it got to the Abbott House. And
under our noses this whole time, right?
Just sitting in a box.
Wow. And so have you had the opportunity to look at some of the minutes at all from that 18-year period or so?
It's if you're not accustomed to that kind of script, it's hard to read.
Sure.
But it's fascinating, it really is, and it's very meticulous with the writing, and it's an enjoyable read.
Not to put you on the spot for quotes or anything, but do you remember just generically topics that were discussed or anything like that from it?
They were talking about tax collection, boundaries, roads, building of roads and upkeep, and election of officials, that kind of thing.
So it sounds like what I just started out with, my first upkeep of roads, what the taxes and budget look like, right? Like
pretty much.
Some things don't change in the history of our country, huh?
No.
And that, as you said, that all predates by, in some cases over 75 years, the founding of our country, and they were still talking about that kind of stuff, which is just amazing. So you mentioned the Abbott House, right? So for those who maybe are new here or haven't been there since they were in third grade or so, right? Give a little snapshot of the Abbott House in town.
The John Abbott House is located on Coosa Road. It's a historical house. It was owned after the Abbotts. The Tyndalls owned it for a long time, and now I believe the Historical Society rents it from the township. It belongs to the township. And they rent it and they give tours on the weekends. And I was part of the bicentennial celebration at the Abbott House in 1976 when I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes, there's pictures of myself and my brother in colonial garb. My mother is a member of the Historical Society, and she kind of roped us into this too. But I guess that's where I got my love for history. I was brought up with it.
Yeah, certainly. Your course was set 50
Yes.
years ago,
Yeah.
basically, right?
Unbeknownst to me.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you being involved in it, and I know. I think it's third grade, right? Mine's only in kindergarten, so we're not there yet. But I think every third grade class has to take its tour of some of the historical homes we have in town, right? And what are some of the other ones that do you? I know you said you were in the Abbott House to find the minutes book, right? But do you have any interaction with some of the other historical homes at all?
I
in
mean
town?
the Watson House and the Pearson House.
Watson, Pearson.
I don't. I'm with the Daughters of the American Revolution
or
in
the
charge of
Watson
Watson House.
Yeah.
And I did see your picture at the Pearson House with the
With my little one,
Historical
too.
Society. Right,
Yeah.
right. They just had that thing last year there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's coming along nicely.
Yeah, and some restoration work that's going on there as
That's
well.
going to be beautiful when that's finished.
Yeah. All this stuff takes way too long.
And too much money. Yeah.
But the goal is to get it restored back to what it kind of looked like, 200 plus years ago or so.
That's the goal.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of time and effort, and unfortunately money too to get it there. So, so as you said, right, you find this minutes book, right, from it's over 300 years now old,
Yeah.
right? So high res scans, and then what happens to it after that?
Well, you have to keep it out of the light, or the ink will fade. And the light's bad for the paper and the ink.
Gotcha.
So you have to keep it out of the light. Keep it, as best humidity and temperature controlled as we can at the library. And the goal is to present these images to the public, but not the actual book itself. We don't want it handled.
Sure. Yeah, because the oils, the fingers, and all that
people,
kind of stuff, right?
rip pages. It's not good for anybody to handle something like that.
Yeah. Are there any at the library now, right? I know this seems to be a bit of a passion of yours right now after finding this book. Any other projects you're working on right now specifically that you're kind of driving towards?
Well, we just got a museum software called Past Perfect.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm taking all of our accessions and putting it into the database. This museum software is keyword searchable. You could have the images on there right in the software itself, and then you could have it so you display the images on a website right from the Past Perfect. And so we want the images and the information to be available to the public through this Past Perfect software.
So if you're somebody listening and now you're getting excited, right, about being able to see some of this stuff, what's the best way? Do they reach out to you? Do they reach out to the library? Do they just go on a website?
Right now, they should reach out to me because it's not available online yet.
Okay.
It won't be for another year or two. We're hoping that's the timeline we're looking at. But they could reach out to me. My contact information, my email address is on our library website.
Gotcha. So if they Google Hamilton Township Library, they'll find a landing page and contact
correct.
information for you. I assume you're occasionally even at the library doing some of this work as well. So they can maybe meet you there to talk about some things they may have,
Yeah.
right? Or as people may be doing a spring cleaning of their own, right, in their house. You never know what you're going to find,
Don't
too.
throw anything away. Bring it to me. I'll take a look at it. Please don't throw anything away.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart every time I hear somebody say, "Oh, I used to have that. I just threw it away." And it just kills me.
Yeah. So take it to the library first if you think it might be of any historical significance.
Even if you think they wouldn't want this, we might.
Yeah.
So we recently, actually, it was last year, because we're opening the new municipal building and other offices will be moving in there from their old offices. I've been contacting them and asking them not to throw away any records, documents, or anything like that, any correspondence before they move, because they might want to do spring cleaning before they move over there. And so we went to the Township Clerk's office, and Allison Sabo was very gracious and willing to help us, and she gave us a treasure trove of material. And We have annual budgets from the 1840s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're in the $5,000 to $6,000 range a year annually.
Wow.
I don't know what the budget is now, but
A little bit more than
yeah,
that.
I would think so. But they're beautiful pieces of paper. They're large and beautifully scripted, and you'd be interested in taking a look at some of those images sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. She gave me a copy of the bond ordinance that authorized the borrowing of money for the current municipal building, right?
Oh, okay.
So we had to do the same thing, right? I mean, the law is the same. We had to pass an ordinance to borrow money to pay for the construction of the new one. They had to do that 100 years ago as well. And so it's just interesting to see, like, history repeats itself, right? And so she was able to find that as we were going through documents and give me a copy of that too. So it is a treasure trove of information there.
Yeah, we have oaths of office and all kinds of correspondence and receipts. It's interesting seeing what the township had to spend money on in the past. Some things stay the same, some things change.
Yeah. And that goes, we are actually, as everybody else is moving paperless, right? This is now an opportunity for us to spring clean the municipal building as well, so there's less stuff. So I'm glad they've been able to work with you and get a lot of that stuff over to you before. I know we have to scan a lot of stuff, right? But we want to make sure if there's any good paper editions that it gets over to you so you can take a look at it and scan it or otherwise document it and retain it and archive it as well. Because the importance of an 1840s budget to present day, if you're doing research, isn't so critical, but it's interesting for historians to kind of look back at some of that stuff as well. So, Jeff, we've got to take our first break. I know there's a lot more to talk about. We haven't even started talking about colonial 250th times and things like that. But when we come back, we'll certainly do so, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Kessel Dermatology in Hamilton Square is an award-winning dermatology practice led by Dr. Daniel Kessel, a board-certified dermatologist. He and his expert staff treat patients of all ages. They offer treatments of all types of skin, hair, and nail conditions, and annual skin cancer screenings, anti-aging treatments, ultraviolet A and B light treatments, skin tightening procedures, Botox, and other treatments that enhance your skin's overall health and appearance. Kessel Dermatology is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. For appointments, call 609-890-2600. That's 609-890-2600. Or visit KesselDermatology.com. They're at 1700 Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. Kessel Dermatology. They're good. Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square. Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Your vehicle is in good hands at Haldeman Collision, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. They do it all at Haldeman Collision. Minor dents and dings, bumpers, windshields, major body, and frame damage. Free estimates, 24-hour towing, most insurance accepted, and loaners available. Haldeman Collision works with all makes and models. They'll go out of their way to getting your car back in brand new condition. Haldeman Collision, conveniently located 20 minutes from Langhorne, Princeton, and Ewing on Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. Want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So Jeff, before we went to break, we were talking about spring cleaning, right? Both at the municipal building and generically in people's homes, right? And you said, don't throw it away if you think it's of any significance, right? Bring it to me.
Right.
What are some of the examples of things people have kind of brought to you, as you've now been the township historian?
We've received a lot of pictures, diaries and journals, received postcards, restaurant menus. People brought in things that their parents might have had when they worked in the township. For example, a lady whose father worked at Thermoid brought in a money bag. One time they paid all their employees in silver dollars as a socio-economic experiment. They wanted to see where the money went, see how people spent their money back in 1940. So she brought in the burlap bag that the silver dollars came in. They said Thermoid on it. And, things like that. Anything that really pertains to the township. Political campaign materials, restaurant menus, and they don't have to be old. Up to the present day, because our present is tomorrow's history.
Yeah.
So we're looking ahead in that respect. But any correspondence, anything like we've gotten oven mitts, cookbooks from organizations in the township, anything you could possibly think of.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the township, it's had long-running organizations, right? Little League organizations, soccer organizations. Hamilton YMCA is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year of being in the township, right? Like 75 years is a good amount of time to have your own history, right? So if you come across something about, the founding of the Hamilton YMCA, like everything could potentially be the history of the township, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and so as you're maybe helping a loved one clean out their place, right? That's where you say, contact you if you think it may have any historical value, right?
Some people have a hard time throwing things away because there's a lot of sentimental value attached to it, and maybe this could make them feel a little better knowing that it would have a good home with us, and they don't have to make the hard decisions about some things like that.
Yeah. And if it's of value, it's going to get archived, and this way, future generations maybe have the opportunity to be informed about it that way, right?
The archive preserved, imaged, and yes, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You said today is tomorrow's history, right? So we're on this big 250th kick, and I'm a amateur historian myself, in that I just love history. I don't proclaim to know it or have specialized in it or anything like that. But 250 years ago, right? We talked about now this minutes book from 300 years ago, right? And it's probably can be summed up in the word farms. But what did the then Nottingham Township look like around 1776?
Very few roads, a lot of farms. You might have at each junction, you would have an inn, a place to stay in Hamilton Square, Mercerville, Yardville. There was always an inn at those crossroads. And other than that, not much in the township, a lot of farms.
Yeah.
Even in 1930, there were 226 farms left in this township. So it was mostly agriculture.
Yeah. But you think going to the inns, right, and the public houses, right? I mean, some of them are still around as we see them today, right? Maybe slightly changed, but you have Yardville Inn, right?
Nottingham Tavern.
Nottingham Tavern, right?
Old Bill's.
Yep, Bill's. One that now doesn't exist, Whitehorse Tavern as well, right? Like, that was so much of Americana back then, right? People still needed a place to meet, to share stories or talk about what's going on, or maybe make business deals and all those kinds of things. Or we didn't have cars, clearly, right? So it took days and days to get from Philadelphia to New York. So you needed, those travelers needed places to stop as well, right?
Yeah, travel could be arduous.
Yeah. And so it speaks even to what the history of the country was like back then, and that you needed these key location inns and taverns and things like that. Right.
It's very important to have a meeting place. With the Nottingham Town Book, these meetings took place at people's homes. There were no meeting places for these people at the time. And it's interesting to see where they met every time. But yeah, everybody needs a town center. And well, we're building the new municipal building, and I hear there's going to be a large meeting room there. So that kind of thing is important.
Yeah, the goal is that we have one place for all our meetings, right? We've never really had that as a town, right? So all the township council meetings, the planning board meetings, the school board meetings, all can be held in the same room, right? And so if you're interested at all about what's going on in town, you just go one place. The school district, what kind of spurred this a little bit is, I forget the name of the storm. It was in 2020 or 2021. It actually flooded the Park Avenue building, their basement. And so the employees who were there, they had to get moved up into the room that was their school board meeting space. And so for the past 5 years, roughly, they've been on a traveling roadshow, they call it, right? Meeting in different schools. Again, history repeats itself, as we were, and I know you've been a big help in helping us find information about the current municipal building. The town council at the time was doing the same thing, right? They were meeting in a bunch of different places. A lot of schools they were meeting in as holding their public meetings. So it's almost for the first time in that now 300 years, right, that it's not going to be a roving, traveling show for public meetings.
Sorry it took this long, but it's great to finally arrive.
Right? Because the school board and the township have never met in the same places, really. And so it's a historical moment now for the township by the end of the year to have a central meeting place for everything.
It just makes sense.
Yeah. And so, but it's funny that, again, history repeats itself over and over with the traveling shows. So, but then Nottingham Township, now Hamilton, right, saw its share of history a little bit with General George coming through our town, right? So can you talk just a little bit about that, on his march from Trenton to Princeton that way?
Well, as the legend goes, I arrived at White Horse Tavern, and the White Horse was supposedly named after General Washington's horse. Mm-hmm. And that was along the way to his march towards Princeton. There's 6 obelisks in the township marking his passage. Mm-hmm. And I believe there were 12 overall, but only 6 are in the township.
Yep.
There's one by Nottingham High School. I'm not quite sure where all 6 are off the top of my head.
I know Greenwood Cemetery has one. Nottingham High School, the VFW 3525. There's one on Quaker Bridge Road near Sloan, and then one at Quaker Bridge in Hughes.
Right.
So that's 5. I don't know where the 6th one is.
I'll have to look at my list when I go back to the office. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. But that's a cool kind of, they call it the 10 crucial days, right, between the battles of Trenton and Princeton,
right.
That showed we can stand up to the British Army. And while there wasn't a battle in our town, right, it certainly has a connection to that moment.
There was a skirmish on Crosswicks Creek, but not quite a battle.
Yeah. And, you think about that's such a defining moment, obviously, in our country's history, and for us to just have even a small historical moment in it is kind of cool and interesting that way. And I read something that New Jersey had the most skirmishes / battles than any other state in the country. So just because of all the times they were crossing through from New York to Philadelphia and back and forth kind of thing. So it's interesting that way too. All the foraging in the farms that probably went on by the Army, etc.
The state treasury hid their money at the John Abbott House in some underneath broken crockery in the basement because they were afraid the Hessians were going to steal it. And they never found the money, so that was we kept our money.
Yeah.
But that's another piece of information about the Abbott House.
Again, that local tie, right? We may not be Trenton, we may not be Princeton, we may not be Yorktown, right? But we still played our part in the founding of this country. So now fast forward a little bit, right? You talked about budgets dating back to the 1840s. And again, I think everybody's question is always, we're named for Alexander Hamilton, right? But we don't really know,
We
do
don't
we?
really know.
Yeah.
No, we assume that, but we don't really know. Maybe it just sounded nice. Yeah.
But have you ever found information on what even led to them wanting to change the name?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
And I know others haven't either, right? But it's just
other than to get away from the name Nottingham, maybe it sounded too English for the time.
But here we are now, over 150 years later, almost 175 years later from the changing of the name, right? I guess more than 175 years later. And it's just kind of interesting that for all the records we can find, we can't find like a newspaper article or town minutes on that kind of subject. You know?
It's not a whole lot survived from 1842 when we changed the name.
And so, getting back to now that history piece, right? A lot of the pieces of history you're getting, I assume, are more 1900 pieces from the 1900s, right? As people are dropping stuff off to you.
Yeah.
Do you ever see anything from, say, the 1800s or anything like that as people drop stuff off?
Not from patrons. I've gotten a lot of stuff from the Township Clerk's office from the 1800s now. But as far as patrons coming in and donating things, not so much 1800s, more 1900s.
Gotcha. If somebody they're listening to this, right? And they may have something to drop off. I know you said you're in the library, but all right, you walk in the library. You're walking into the library. What's the easiest way to find you if they, have stuff?
Okay, I'm on the lower level. So if you walked in the main entrance, walked up the slope into the main entrance, you could take the elevator downstairs and go down that long hallway, and I'm down there on the right. There's a sign on the door.
Or there's a side door, right? That kind of has
yes, if you want to go down the wheelchair accessible entrance, you go down to the right and go in that hallway and hang a right, and I'm right down there.
Okay, awesome. Well, Jeff, we got to take our last break. We got still some more, I know, talk about maybe a little more modern history, but we'll be back in just a moment to talk more with Jeff.
Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square. Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Your vehicle is in good hands at Haldeman Collision, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. They do it all at Haldeman Collision. Minor dents and dings, bumpers, windshields, major body, and frame damage. Free estimates, 24-hour towing, most insurance accepted, and loaners available. Haldeman Collision works with all makes and models. They'll go out of their way to getting your car back in brand new condition. Haldeman Collision, conveniently located 20 minutes from Langhorne, Princeton, and Ewing on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. Kessel Dermatology in Hamilton Square is an award-winning dermatology practice led by Dr. Daniel Kessel, a board-certified dermatologist. He and his expert staff treat patients of all ages. They offer treatments of all types of skin, hair, and nail conditions, and annual skin cancer screenings, anti-aging treatments, ultraviolet A and B light treatments, skin tightening procedures, Botox, and other treatments that enhance your skin's overall health and appearance. Kessel Dermatology is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. For appointments, call 609-890-2600. That's 609-890-2600. Or visit KesselDermatology.com. They're at 1700 Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. Kessel Dermatology. They're good.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. Want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So, Jeff, we've been talking about the 250th, right? And then what I said the town's going to be putting out some information on some of the things we have planned, right? But I know you, with our library director, Laverne, are planning some things for the library to kind of celebrate the 250th anniversary as well. So what's going on there?
Well, I know we're going to have some children's programs. We're going to have, I believe, a screening of the play Hamilton. We're going to have a website for the 250th. There's also a time capsule buried on library grounds that was buried in 1976 by the FBLA of Hamilton High West. So
what's the FBLA?
That's the Future Business Leaders of America.
Okay.
It's a club. And they were in charge of this time capsule. I don't know what's in it, but I stumbled across a newspaper article referencing it. So we might explore that.
So we believe there's a time capsule buried somewhere in or around the library.
Yes, well, we know there is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's trying to find it.
It's a matter of where exactly it is.
Oh, wow. And there was a time capsule last year that was unearthed,
Right.
or
It was,
opened from
yes.
the library as well.
It was in the Cornerstone. The building was put there in 1975 when the library building opened.
So what were some of the things found in that time capsule from 75?
Well, there were some newspaper articles, a couple period coins from that time, just a little artwork, just basically paper items that people had laminated, school children, drawings, things like that.
And I think we had that on display at the library. Is it still on display?
That is on the lower level, yes.
Is it still on display now?
It is. It's
okay.
right by room 1 downstairs.
So it's 50 years in historical times is a snap of the finger, right?
Right.
But it's interesting to know they did one time capsule in 1975 to celebrate the opening of the library, and a second one just the next year, probably inspired by the first one they did, to do a second time capsule that way. When, as you said, we were celebrating the bicentennial of the country's founding, right?
That's right.
So hopefully we're able to find the 1776 one at some point this year and be able to display that as well.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
We don't know what's in it, so we can't make any promises.
And then I know we're doing a quiz show as well.
You'll be involved.
I'm a contestant.
I'll be writing the questions. I won't make them too difficult.
All right. Hopefully some are based
softballs.
on. Hopefully some are based on some of the topics we talked about today.
Oh, you can bank on that.
All right. So you're going to be our Alex Trebek, so to speak, huh?
I'll try.
Maybe grow a little mustache or something like
We'll
that
see
between
how that
now
works.
and then.
Yeah, I'll experiment with that in between now and then.
But an opportunity again, right, to talk about Hamilton's history and some of our involvement in our country's founding, I imagine, as part of the quiz show as well. So,
yep, be
yeah.
prepared for everything.
I'll do my best. But it's the time capsules, the Abbott House finding the minutes book, right? It just, while our country's not necessarily old compared to, when I was in the Air Force, I lived in England for 4 years, right? I lived in Cambridge, and they were celebrating their 800th anniversary at the time of the founding of one of the colleges, right? Puts in perspective 300 years, right? But 300 years is still a good amount of time to be able to trace a lot of different errors in our township and in our country that way. So I imagine for you, every day is kind of different and new as well.
That's what I really like about the job. It never gets boring. It doesn't get stale. It just, there's always something different, something to keep your mind occupied.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down.
And I'm sure you could go down even with some of the things that existed in the town, right? Things like trolleys and fairgrounds and all of that as well.
That's right. Not a lot of people know that there were 2 amusement parks in the township.
Oh, wow.
Yes, there's White City Park and Broad Street Park that operated, I think it was 1907 to 1921 or 22, around that time. And then right when that was closing, Woodlawn Park opened, Greenwood Avenue, and that stayed up until, I want to say, around 1934. They had a massive in-ground pool there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you could, if you didn't have your own bathing suit, you could rent one from them.
Is that really? You were able to find stuff
Yeah, I
about...
found ads for it where you could rent a park suit.
Wow.
Yeah. If you had your own suit, it was only a quarter, but extra quarter for the park suit.
It doesn't seem like something you'd want to share with other people,
No,
but okay.
you wouldn't think.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if they were the old woolen bathing suits from back in the day. If you're 1930, it could very well have been wearing someone else's bathing suit. It's, times have changed.
Yeah. And then you had, obviously, what's now like grounds for sculpture and things like that, but you had the
fairgrounds.
The fairgrounds,
Yes,
too.
New Jersey State Fair, yeah. Ran from 1888 to 1981.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it made almost 100 years.
Almost, yeah.
Wow.
It carried on. They moved to Cherry Hill. They had it at the Garden State Racetrack. And, it bounced around a little after it left here.
Yeah.
I think it was at Jackson Six Flags.
Okay. And even Garden State Racetrack in Cherry Hill, right? That closed now.
Yeah, that
and
closed down, yeah.
It's condos and storefronts now, too, right? So, a lot of people wouldn't even realize those kinds of things were there, where now
Correct.
there's, the visionary coming in of Seward Johnson comes in and says, hey, this can be an outdoor sculpture garden instead, right? And again, part of Hamilton's history that way as well.
We've gotten a lot of donations from patrons who brought in souvenirs and tickets and stuff from these amusement parks and the state fair. They're really nice pieces of history to look at, and I can't wait to share them with the township residents.
And so as you talk about sharing, that's that program you were talking about earlier that you're cataloging things in, and eventually the public has access to some of those things?
Access to the images and some information that we release, yes.
Yeah. And you said maybe a year or two before we're ready to kind of roll that out publicly?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Yeah, we're still in the process of inputting all our data, the accessions into this Past Perfect software.
That's awesome. Because, it can be used for school-aged kids, right? Doing research projects and things like that, right?
There's one other research tool that I don't think a lot of people in the township are aware of, but if you have a library card, you can access the entire run of the Trenton Times on Newsbank. On the library website, you scroll down, you can find the newspaper section. All you have to do is click on that, put in your library card number, and you could keyword search the whole run of the Trenton Times, and I believe we had the Trentonian from 2000 on also.
Wow.
There. That's a free utility available for any resident who has a library card.
Yeah, so if you know of a historical event in town, right, you can go, could you even type it in by date, or is it by...
Sure, you can search by date, you can search by keyword.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So how long are the Trenton Times going? Does it go back
The Trenton Times goes back to 1883, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it, again, kind of now sad, right, as we're in this new era of reporting, right? There is no print edition of the Trenton Times anymore.
No, they ceased printing, I think, last February.
Yeah. So how does that work from a historian's perspective, right? If you don't have the physical paper anymore, does it make things harder, easier, different?
Well, if we didn't have this digital archive of the newspapers, it would make it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But it's really a godsend having the Newsbank.
And down the street, you've got the State Museum, the State Archives. Do you ever interact with any of them in terms of historical items?
Not lately, no.
Yeah.
No.
But it's nice to have close if you come across something and then need further research on it, I imagine.
Yeah, just a hop, skip, and jump away. Sure.
Yeah. And so for people researching things, I imagine that's an opportunity for them as well. So, no, we're really excited about all this kind of stuff. Is there an era, either in our local history and our nation's history, that really kind of speaks to you? Do you have like a favorite?
I don't know if I could say I have a favorite. It's all pretty interesting to me. They all have their own qualities that I appreciate. I'd be hard pressed to pick one particular era that really, interests me.
Well, let me ask you a different way. Is there an area you're kind of working on now in your role?
Now, it jumps around a lot. It depends on what I'm working on at that time. But the time periods, it's all over. It's anywhere from 1842 to present, so it could be anywhere in there.
And I imagine, as you said, if you've been going through those clerk documents and things like that, right, as those jump from decade to decade, or you see one and that sends you down that rabbit hole, right?
Exactly,
that could be
exactly.
a whole unplanned day on that rabbit hole kind of
For
thing.
instance, you find something on the overseer of the poor, and you say, okay, well, who was the overseer of the poor at the time? Then you wind up making a list of all the overseers of the poor. Where was the poorhouse? That was on what is now Route 130. And then, it takes you down that rabbit hole. How many residents did they have? What kind of crops did they grow there? There's just no end.
Yeah, the overseer of the poor, right?
Yes.
And so there's been a tax collector for 300 plus years, but certainly not an overseer of the poor for 300 years. And so some things don't change and some things do, right? No, that's really interesting. One last thing I just want to, churches, right? We have a strong history of different kind of churches in town. Do you get involved in some of their history as well as it relates to the town?
That's funny you should say that. And we didn't pre-plan this. I just had somebody drop off the Hamilton Square Baptist records. They just merged a couple years ago with another church.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who were in charge of the old church gave me all their old records.
Oh, wow.
There's maps and deeds and all kinds of stuff in there. It's fascinating, really.
So you're starting to go through that and catalog some of that stuff?
Exactly.
How long, how far back does it seem to go?
What she gave me, I think we found a couple things from 1860-ish, I would say, yeah.
And you think about that, right? The Civil War era and stuff like that, and somebody had, or somebody or the actual church, right, had documents going back that long. So
that's right.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, anything you want to leave our listeners with in terms of Hamilton history or history in general, or your job as the historian that you want to leave them with knowing?
If you have any questions, some people will say, this is a silly question. I hate to bother you with this. Don't worry about that. Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask any questions, and don't be afraid to donate stuff that you'd think that we wouldn't want either.
Yeah. We're stressed that about 5 times, but
we're
we
not
want to
picky.
we want to keep stressing it, right?
Yes.
If you think it might have any value at all to a historian or from a historical perspective, bring it in.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what would hold historical context.
Right, as you said, because it can send you down different avenues after that, right?
That's right.
In cataloging all the overseers of the poor. Well, Jeff, I really want to thank you for coming on today, but also just for the work you do as our township historian. It's so important. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it, right?
That's what they say.
And so, I talk a lot about Hamilton Proud, right? And I want people to have pride in their township, in their community. And part of that pride is understanding its history as well. And I know you're so key in, and your predecessors, right, in preserving that history so people can be aware of it, understand it, and know where we've been at as a township. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for your time here today. Want to thank our library for keeping Jeff on staff and busy for all that they have going on as well. What better place to have a township historian than at the library where you have all that information. And want to thank WBCB 1490 AM. Again, this month we've done 2 editions, our delayed February edition and our March edition, as well as our sponsors, Capital Health, Haldeman Ford, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So as you heard, a lot going on in our township over the last 300 years. And I know each month we have a different guest, but as Jeff said, today is tomorrow's history. So we'll be back in April talking about a different topic. That'll be May's history. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next month for another edition of This Month in Hamilton.